Hi guys, it's Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. I am finally getting around to playing with these guys. They're so cute, but I really got busy, so I did not get a chance to get all my projects done that I had planned to. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on this today. And okay, I've got a couple of ideas going through my head. Actually, I've got several going through my head, and I'm not 100% sure which I'm going to pick first. But first, I want to show you guys this one. This is the 3D embossing folder of the month, and look at these lovely panels. This is made with one piece of heavyweight cardstock that I went through the die cutting machine with my embossing folder, and these are just so lovely. And then I thought, you know, I've got a lot of scraps. I bet I could make some shells. So I went ahead and I made some of these little guys. This is actually some vellum that I guess about a year ago I did some alcohol ink on, and I really haven't done much with it since. I've had a few pieces that just never have made it to a card, so I went ahead and I embossed some of those and cut out a bunch of these little shells. I'm probably going to do some more. Anyway, that is kind of my starting point. I'm also going to go ahead and use this, partially because I really want to play with that well. So right now I'm going to go ahead and stamp out some of these, and we're going to get to doing some coloring. I've had a couple of different ideas already on this stamp set. This is just too cute. And I've already changed my mind as to how I'm going to do my first card with this. So right now what I'm doing at this point is I am stamping with some VersaFine Clair and just some of the images that I can die cut out of the paper once they're all colored. Reason I'm using my VersaFine Clair is I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of heat embossing over this. You can, of course, color any which way that you want to, use whatever mediums you want to, but I think I'm going to do a little bit of, I don't know, watercoloring or ink watercoloring or something. Anyway, I'm going to use some water and color on here. So why don't we make sure that those lines stay nice and crisp. And just add a little embossed edge to that. So I'm using my Clair VersaFine black, that is in Nocturne, and then my Clear Wow embossing powder over the top. So the paper that I use, this is not, number one, this is not watercolor paper. If you're planning on doing more, you know, more water on there, make sure you use watercolor paper, because otherwise you're liable to get a lot of warpage. I'm probably going to get some warpage on this, because this, I believe, is just some accent opaque, or it is Nina Solar White. I've got both of those as my whites in my stash, and they get kind of confused sometimes. So I'm just going to add a little bit of water to my glass mat and a little bit of ink. I'm going to start off with my whale, and I'm using this Pebble Gray ink from Catherine Pooler. I don't have a lot of grays, so this has been a great addition, and I am just going to add a little bit of water into that. I'm not adding a bunch, but it's going to make it a little bit easier for me to apply it. Okay, and I'm starting off, I think I'm going to start off at the top of my whale. I do want to have the bottom of my whale to be the lightest part, but I don't really know how light this is going to go on here with this water. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that in there. It looks like I need more water in order to spread it around pretty decently. And that's it for my whale. Now I'm going to just color in the rest of the things on here using kind of the same thing. This I'm going to use a lot of different colors because it is coral, and that's going to be kind of fun. But they are going to be also somewhat muted, I think, when I get done, because this is also underwater. With the coloring done, I'm just die cutting these out using the coordinating dies and playing some more with the embossing folder. I just love the way this 3D embossing folder looks on cardstock, so I took some paper strips and ran those through my die cutting machine to put those imprints on there. And now I'm just using some Simon Hurley lunar paste to add a little bit of extra color to the different panels. Now I'm not sure which one I'm going to want to use, and I'm just playing around to see what it's going to look like. So after playing around with the Simon Hurley lunar paste and the embossing folders and all that, I am going to do a couple of panels out of these pieces that I've made. I used some strips that have been in my stash in my scrap bin for a while. I've got a lot of strips. Anyway, I'm using a couple of strips from there. I've got some blue, I've got some red, and now I'm going to tape them back together on the back because I did run these all through the die cutting machine on that embossing folder at the same time. So it's basically like making a striped, all one piece striped panel right there. So next I'm going to trim it down. Actually, I'm going to add some more tape to the back, and then I'm going to trim it down into two A2 size panels. Stop recording. And I'm just doing the taping with some washi tape that I've had in my stash. I'm going to save my good best ever craft tape for some other projects because I've got a ton of cheap washi tape and nobody's going to see this anyway, and I'm not going to remove it, so I don't really care whether or not it is kind of the right strength for using with this. Sometimes washi tape is too tacky, and sometimes it is not tacky enough, so you never know what you're going to get when it comes to washi tape. Okay, so this panel is now 8 inches long, so that is perfect. I'll cut it into two 4-inch pieces, and that makes a couple of nice backgrounds. So the panels are actually a little bit too wide, so I've got it at 4 by 5.5, or actually just a touch. Okay, it's just a touch. That's because the width of the strips wasn't exactly perfect, but that is totally fine. Just going to trim them down just a little bit, so it's going to be 5.25 by 4, and that's going to give me a little bit of matting around the edges from my card panel, and I decided to go with a light blue, card base, a light blue card base for this. I'll go ahead and adhere that down. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use my foam tape for this, partially because these are just taped together. I could glue them down to a card panel, too. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to glue these down to a card panel. That's going to give them a little bit more stability. And then I'll trim the card panels down too. Okay, so I decided that I'm going to go ahead and just use this panel straight down onto my card base instead of doing any foam. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and glue this down onto my card panel. Just try to center that pretty much in the middle. There we go. And since it's got that second layer of cardstock underneath it, that gives it a little bit extra dimension, but not a ton. Okay, and now we can start decorating the front. And I think on this first one, I'm going to leave it pretty simple. So I'm going to just have it with just our whale and the sentiment, whale hello there. And I am going to pop that up on some foam. And that finishes up that clean and simple, really simple card. So for this card, I'm going to use some of the pieces, some of those little bits that we created using the vellum and these other panels that I cut out and all the things, because I'm sorry, these are just so stinking cute. Anyway, I've got a couple of pieces here. These were made from the alcohol ink, and this one doesn't have quite as much alcohol ink on there, and it looks like I didn't trim it quite as close as I wanted in one spot. No worries, just take care of that one. I'm gonna glue these guys down flat to my embossed panel. And there's so much texture going on, and to be honest, I don't really care if you can see the adhesive behind the vellum. All of the texture that is on these shells makes them very, very realistic, and any kind of color differentiation, I guess, is going to look perfectly fine, because that's kind of the way that shells are. You don't know what you're going to get, right? We put a block on that, let that dry a little bit. This piece, I'm going to put some tape on the back. So grab out my Scotch foam, and this is going to give it a little bit more dimension. Have it a little bit off the edge. There we go. Then I've got a cute little a little purple jellyfish. Love the jellyfish. And I went ahead and stamped and embossed another sentiment. This one says, water you up to. And then I'm going to adhere the whole thing down onto my dark blue top folding card base. And that finishes up a third card. So I think I know what I'm going to do with this last card. And yes, I'm going to say last for now. Yeah, there's so many fun things you can do with these. So I'm going to trim this other half of that panel down. It's going to be 5 1/4 by 4. And this is that cream color. I'm going to go ahead and just adhere that one down onto basically a cream colored card base. So it's going to be monochromatic there. It's going to be samey, basically samey, except for that lovely texture. Okay. I definitely love that embossing folder. Okay, now I'm going to adhere this guy down and have it a little bit off to the edge. And this one, I do think I want to have it on some foam. So let me grab out my foam tape again. Okay, and then I've got these cute little crabs, these little bitty crabs. So I'm going to add, again, I'm putting everything up on foam. Love that little bit of dimension. I'm going to cut some little bitty pieces of foam to go behind each of my little crabs. And place down my sentiment, and then we can add our little jellyfish. There we go, and that finishes up that card. love how these cards turned out. They all turned out super, super fun. And I am saving all of the bits to work with some of the other products that came out this month as well. So there's going to be some more sea-themed, whale-themed cards coming up over the next couple of weeks. And so you guys stay tuned. Be sure to check out this playlist to see more videos where I'm using Spellbinders products. And I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great day. Bye, guys.